So you don't know how to respond when somebody lowballs you with an offer. Maybe they ask, hey, can we negotiate the price? Or hey, can I get a discount? If you want to know the exact framework that I use to handle these objections while I'm selling, make sure to watch this video. What's going on? My name is Kevin. I'm actually a high ticket sales consultant, also a digital marketing consultant. I help entrepreneurs, closers, businesses basically scale their high ticket products, services, and offers so that they can grow their business while, maintaining the brand without sleazy sales. Everybody hates those sleazy sales processes where they try to hard close you and all that. No one likes that experience. So basically, I help people basically convert their sales with a more relationship-based process as well. Anyways, recently, I was actually in my business coaching group and we were talking about sales, and one of my friends had a lead and asked, how do I deal with this price objection and all that? What do I do? And this was her question.
Hey Kevin, hope you're doing well. I have a quick question about sales. So how do you deal with people who are asking for discounts on your services? Would love to hear your feedback on this.
So that's a great question, Athena. If you guys don't know Athena, make sure to check out her Instagram. She's actually offering a one-on-one coaching program for marketers, and her stuff is great. So if you decide to check it out, make sure to tell her Kevin sent you as well. So in terms of handling this, there's really a few things that we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about, hey, what to do when it comes up so you can better understand their situation and kind of overcome these objections. And then the second thing is we're going to talk about how to prevent it. And a lot of these objections come when you don't do the upfront work. So we're going to be breaking all that down as well. So if you're struggling with this and you're wondering what to do, make sure to check out this video. All right, how many of you guys are going through the same thing? Chances are you probably have a high ticket product, service, or offering, and maybe you're in high ticket sales or you're a business owner trying to get things off the ground. We all know how tough that can be. And sometimes when you make that offer, when you're selling your product or service on that closing call, your lead asks you, hey, can we negotiate? Can I get a discount? And then guess what? Your heart drops, right? It's the most discouraging thing in the world because you spent all this work on something. You feel a little bit offended, maybe you feel a bit shocked. So how do you respond, right? And so in today's video, we're going to break that down in 3 quick steps as well. But before we dive into that, let's do a quick pause into the sponsor today. Maybe you have a high ticket program but don't know where to build or host your platform. Maybe you have all this software, you got MailChimp, you got all these different things. Well, say no more fam, Kartra got your back. And so I personally use Kartra to build all my high ticket programs. It's one of the programs that I recommend to most people. So you should definitely check out Kartra, especially when they offer a free trial. Make sure to go to refugeehustle.com/Kartra. Take a look at it. You won't be disappointed as well. So here's the first tip. Use tactical empathy to understand why they're asking for it. So often we just want to world star things. We want to get combative and be like, no, I don't want to offer a discount and whatnot. We all have been there before, right? But sometimes we just need to take a step back, take a quick pause, right? Relax ourselves, and then try to understand their situation completely. Clearly there's a disconnect somewhere along the sales process. And so your goal is to understand the root problem. You can solve it in a few different ways, right? You can repeat the last word that they said, like, can I get a discount? And you're like, discount? Help me understand, what do you have in mind in terms of that? By doing that, you're trying to understand where they're coming from. What is the real issue or concern here, right? And then you can follow up with this question. By giving you a discount, what are we trying to accomplish here? I've literally been on closing calls where they're like, you know what? I don't really know, right? Because typically, if you do everything right, you know their financial expectations, you know their financial positioning up front. So sometimes it's not even a concern, they just want to ask. So I've actually been on closing calls where I've asked this question and they're just like, it would just make me more comfortable, in terms of breaking it up. And I always ask, well, is it absolutely necessary? Do you like the plan? Kind of looping that Jordan Belfort talks about all the time, right? And sometimes if there is a concern, typically I might downsell them to a more conservative plan or really recommit them on their goals, whether they really believe this is the right solution and if they truly believe this is going to get them to their goals at the end of the day, right? Also, before I even go into this framework, I like to review their information just to make sure that we're both on the same page, make sure that there's no misunderstanding, right? So one of the things I like to say is, hey, based off your current financial position and your goals, you mentioned this. Is that correct? You know, it just helps improve the communication, making sure that you have open and honest communication too. Like I said, we're using this tactical empathy to understand their situation before proposing a solution, before jumping the gun, if that makes sense. By the way, quick shout out to one of my favorite books, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. I actually got this term tactical empathy as well, and this tonality thing of discount? What do you mean by that? Or what did he have in mind in terms of that, right? I got that from him. So make sure to check that. I'll link out in my affiliate links below on Amazon. Now, point 2, never split the difference, but do offer a tier strategy. You know, I just had to use one of my favorite books. Like I said, Never Split the Difference in here, but it's true, you know, and we're going to be breaking down these 3 steps that you need to do to offer a tiered strategy as well to them, right? So the first thing that we need to do is get them to empathize with your situation. Now that you've taken the time to understand their situation, you can follow up with the phrase like, hey, while I understand you need to be financially conscious with your investment, I hope you can understand that we need to do the same as well. Does that make sense, right? Or you can say like, hey, while I'd love to offer you a discount, it wouldn't be fair to our current clients. Does that make sense, right? So they understand your position as well, right? And the reason why we have them speak first and understand their situation first is because we're building leverage, right? The more they talk, the more open they are toward listening. It's kind of like this law of reciprocity as well. It works for some reason, but people are more open to listening to what you have to say after listening to them first. Now, the second step in offering a tiered strategy is revalidating your offer or propose a different solution, right? So what I always like to do is just double check, right? You know, so one of the phrases that I always like to say is, hey, in terms of the roadmap, does that make sense so far? Is there anything crucial that you believe that is missing from the game plan? Or assuming that you have the right resources, is there any reason why you would believe that you wouldn't be able to hit your goals? So once we understand their situation and kind of eliminate those doors, you know, we should have done their find out, but for some reason, they are just not comfortable going with a higher tier. What I always like to do is drop it down a bit, right? And this is how I position a counter tier or a counter solution that makes sense for both of us, right? Hey, you know, the one thing that I will have you understand is that you can dream about having better, faster, and cheaper, but in reality, this doesn't happen. If you want better, you need to invest more. If you want faster, you need to invest more. If you want high touch, trust, and value, you need to invest more. A greater investment into any outcome makes it more likely that these outcomes will be obtained. A smaller investment almost always means reduced outcomes with more problems. Does that make sense? Yes, no, perfect. So with that being said, while we would love to do a discounted rate or even a monthly plan, unfortunately, we can't do that. But what we can do is offer a more conservative solution. Does that sound fair? You know, you'll notice that I use words, hey, does that sound fair? I actually got this also from Never Split the Difference because by using the word fair, it positions the conversation like you're working toward a natural solution for them. So I love using words, hey, does that sound fair? Does that make sense? Just to make sure that we're both on the same page as well. Because in sales, a lot of time we need to make sure that the expectations are up front just for a good working relationship as well, right? Now, this only works if you have a lower tier. We're going to be diving into what you can do before this, but hey, you know, if you want to work for a lower rate or anything like that, that's totally on you. Think about it. If you're the business owner, you're the one doing the fulfillment, you're responsible for that. So if you're okay with the terms, then that's fine. But if that doesn't work, let's go to point 3. Don't handle objections when they come up. It's all about the setup, right? You know, what I've noticed from a lot of newbie type of closers or sales type of people as well is that they're playing objection whack-a-mole, right? So at the end, they're just like, man, this person is bucking at the price. These people are last minute asking us like, hey, how do you guys help, right? And you can't blame these prospects. You have to look within yourself. And it really comes down to, you didn't set the expectations up properly, right? Because the truth is, if you've done your discovery well, you should at this point understand their goals, their primary goal, the urgency of their goals, like why now, and most importantly, their financial position, right? But guess what? A lot of people skip the last part, their financial position. For example, how are you going to offer a customized solution if you don't know their current state? If you don't know where they're starting right now, what's going to financially break them, what makes financially sense to them as well, you need to understand their financial position as well. Especially if you're doing more B2C, if you're doing any type of biz op type of offers as well, that's really, really important, because again, it's all about expectations up front. The last thing that you would want to happen is to work with someone and then find out later down the line, when you're midway in the project, when you already committed, right, that they can't sustain your services, and it does no one any favors as well. No one wins in that case, right? You might be asking yourself, how do I do a financial breakdown? Well, in B2C, I really take the time to understand, hey, their debt, their credit, their liquid working capital, just to make sure that they're in a solid position. Like, the last thing that we want to do is offer a solution that's not going to work for them. That's not our goal, right? Because hopefully, if we're in sales, if we have a really kick-ass product, it's our responsibility to make sure that they are going to get the results that they're where they want to go. So if you have a kick-ass product, it's our responsibility to make sure that that product is going to help them be the bridge to where they want to go. We have the current state, where they're at right now, and where they want to be, future state, and that in between is our solution. That's the bridge of bringing them to where they want to be. A lot of time, it's kind of like booking an airplane flight, right? So if you don't know where you want to go, I can't help you. If we don't know where we're taking off from, I can't book your flight. So we need to make sure that we understand the current state and future state, and then bridge the gap as well, right? Now, in B2B sales, this becomes a little bit more tricky. You need to understand their budget toward an investment like this and how the company makes a decision, right? You need to ask these key questions. Who else needs to be on this call to move forward? What are they currently spending on their current solution? What's their biggest gap? What is it costing them by not filling in that gap in their business as well? We have to ask these specific questions as well. It doesn't make sense to go into credit, debt, all that sort of stuff for more B2B, but these are the key questions, because guess what? We're going to tailor a solution specifically for them. Why even go through a full presentation presenting a solution that doesn't even work for them, right? They can't even financially sustain that. So we don't want to waste anybody's time. We want to make sure that we're all on the same page. And so that's what I'm going to emphasize as well. So keep in mind, at the end of the day, you're offering a professional service. So it's making sure that all the expectations are up front for a long-term working relationship. Those are the key words that you're going to use. So one of the things I always like to ask in my calls is, hey, so assuming that we build this custom roadmap, right? And it makes both financial and strategic sense. Is there any reason why you would not move forward as well? That way we get to understand their situation, their decision making, and make sure to see if they're in a state, or if they're ready to be presented on the close call as well. I do a 2-part close. I do a set and close call, where a set call is a discovery, the close call is the expectations and presentation and all that as well. So I covered this in my full-blown academy, where I talk about the set call being the discovery call, understanding their current state and future state. And then the close call is really setting the expectations of the working relationship. It's also the presentation of the offer too, of their custom solution. So I cover that in my full academy, and I also have my scripts on my website as well. As soon as they're built out, you can purchase them down below as well. Hey, but the main thing I always emphasize is that, hey, the investment has to drive this solution, not the other way around. Here's the truth. When you pay a lower price, there's a cost to that. There's a cost in terms of spending more time, more energy, more money in the long run, right? There's this really great saying. I forget where it's from. I think it's a Bulgarian saying, but you can't afford to buy cheap or something like that. And it's so true, especially when we're doing high ticket sales, right? There's always a trade-off. Typically, if you watch my other video about how to price a digital product or service, make sure to watch it in one of these corners there. But I break down what's the difference between a low ticket offer and high ticket offer as well, right? Anyways, if you want to learn more about communication, positioning, and high ticket sales, make sure to download my 10-step checklist to plug in any gaps in your sales process as well. I'm currently building this out. When it's out, I'll let you guys know. You can check the description below and take a look at it there. All right, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions about sales, high ticket sales, or anything like that, please let me know and I'll cover it as well. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye.